The desire to work less and earn more, or the desire not to work at all and earn money, lives inside every sensible person. However, financial independence, which everyone dreams of so passionately, is a dream that, unfortunately, will remain an unrealizable dream for most people. And only a few of us, having made certain efforts in our lives, will be able to achieve a more or less acceptable financial situation for ourselves, and only a few of the most cunning and intelligent people will be able to become truly rich and independent. This is natural selection in nature. The strong survive and live, and the weak exist miserably and then die unnoticed. Although we talk to you about financial independence as if it were some kind of real independence from something or someone, in reality, there is no such thing as independence. In any case, there is no absolute independence of a person from the outside world and from other people. Think for yourself. What kind of independence can there be in a world in which everyone depends on each other to some extent, in which an economic crisis in a single country affects the economies of all countries without exception? There is no independence, in reality, but there is something that can be called independence, including financial independence, and this something must be understood if we want to achieve this state. For example, some people mistakenly believe that you can become financially independent if a large amount of money suddenly appears in your life, which these people who have never had much money will find the right use for. This point of view is as absurd as the idea that by sitting at the controls of a passenger plane during its flight, you can figure out how to fly this very plane according to the instructions. Or, as they like to show in some movies, a person can allegedly fly an airplane by receiving instructions from the ground. Even modern airplanes, with all their autopilots, cannot be flown by an ordinary person who has not undergone the necessary training, and in the same way, people cannot wisely manage a large amount of money if they have never done so before. They will simply squander it all, and some, the most thrifty people, will fill all the bins in their home or in foreign banks with this money and will pine over it, like Koshchei over gold. But this money will also disappear into oblivion if it is not put to proper use. Without the ability to manage money, this same money is useless, and big money is also harmful, because having received great opportunities thanks to big money, a fool can do such things that they can make both him and other people very sick. But, all these things cannot be explained to poor and therefore very greedy for money people who dream of millions and billions that can give them financial independence, but have no idea how to get to all these millions and billions. Everything needs to be learned in this life, including how to be a rich person. In general, if you call a spade, many things will become clear, even without a thorough study of what is hidden behind these things. Thousands of books, tens of thousands, and perhaps hundreds of thousands and even millions of articles have been written about financial independence, in which you can find many useful thoughts of smart people, but all these thoughts need to be refined. Money, wealth, business, investments, a beautiful life, power, how many times have we heard about all this, but what is behind all these concepts? Do any of you understand? Ask you about what wealth is, and you will tell about everything that you have learned from the most popular programs, films, or books, but have you ever thought about what wealth, success, business, power, financial independence, and similar things are? I am sure that you have not, but you dream about all this. And how, excuse me, can you dream about something that you do not understand? How can you, being in the dark and not seeing anything, move in the right direction? There is no way to do this. We always need some kind of guidelines to understand what exactly and why we are doing, and where we are moving. That's the same with financial independence. You need to not just want to get there, you need to understand how to do it and what kind of financial independence it is. What does it mean to work less and earn more? This means that a person wants to work little and consume a lot. Whereas what he is going to consume, someone must produce, and if it is not he, then someone else. That is, a person does not want to bend his back to grow his own bread, sew his own pants, generate electricity for himself, and so on. He wants to make a few simple movements and get all the benefits he needs without much effort. And let someone else bend over backwards for him. Consequently, our desire for financial independence is a desire to climb on someone's neck, say, the same society, and sit on it with our legs dangling. You can ennoble all this with such words as business, success, wealth, investment, and so on. But this does not change the essence of the matter. We want to work little or not work at all, but have everything we need. However, someone must produce all this, someone else, but not us. Is it bad to invest money and get interest from it, while other people are forced to toil from morning till night, practically every day, to earn this interest and produce what can be bought for this interest? No, it is not bad, it is very good. But, no one will voluntarily toil for you, providing you with a sweet life. No one will allow you to climb on their neck, without resistance. Therefore, you need to somehow force people to serve you, to work on you, to satisfy you, to protect you. But how? Well, that is the whole trick. In the ability to manipulate people and in the ability to subordinate them to your will. Otherwise, we all say success, success, admire the person who has achieved this very success, and do not understand at all that his success is someone else's failure. You need losers if you want to achieve financial independence, which can manifest itself either against the background of your genius or against the background of your own stupidity. What do you think is easier to ensure? It is clear that to grow yourself at such a pace as to always be smarter than everyone else is somehow difficult, while to dumb down the majority of people and thereby rise above them is much easier. This is basically what all success in the modern world is built on, except, of course, for those cases when brute physical force, including military force, forces people to become slaves of the one who uses this force. But you and I, as businessmen, entrepreneurs, investors, active people, undoubtedly smart people, must use more humane methods of achieving our goals. For us, our financial independence, the formula of which, as you yourself see, is simple to the point of madness, means the ability to deceive already dulled human beings who are unable to resist manipulation and psychological pressure. So, no matter how it may sound to you, behind all these beautiful capitalist terms there is social parasitism and the most primitive, but beautifully veiled exploitation of people. Become smarter, you will become richer, you will become less dependent on society, making it dependent on you. I have already repeated this simple truth many times, but you still need to catch up with it, which is an extremely difficult task for a primitive mind. However, you, my dear reader, I am sure, are smart enough to realize this truth, and if so, then let us think about how we, standing on the path to financial independence, should act in order to put a certain number of people to our service. First of all, we should pay attention to education, which allows us to know more, understand more, and be able to do more. Education must be correct, and not as terrible as it is today for most people. One of our former political figures, and now the CEO of a large state corporation, said about our secondary schools that they are general education institutions for cattle. It is clear that in such institutions as our general education schools, according to the words of this well-known person in our country, financially independent people are not trained. They train those who will provide financial independence to those who say such things about our schools, and God knows what else they think about ordinary people. That is, you need to study in the right places, and the right things. It is difficult to argue with this. Moreover, in addition to the education that we can receive in educational institutions of various calibers, we must definitely educate ourselves, supplementing the knowledge we have already received with the knowledge we personally need. It is not easy to force yourself to study, because a person is a lazy monkey, unwilling to do something without special need for it. Therefore, by the way, the demand for the most prestigious universities in the world does not fall even due to the development of the Internet, where you can find any information, study it in the most thorough way and, in fact, educate yourself. Well, yes, there are still all these crusts, which also have weight, but nevertheless, if you are a smart, really smart person, you will not be left without money, believe me. So, while we are so lazy, and do not want, like Mikhail Lomonosov, to reach for knowledge ourselves, we should go to study in various educational institutions where we will be forced to study. An educated person, remember this, has more chances to achieve financial independence than an uneducated ram. But if an uneducated person educates himself, then there will be no difference between him and the one who studies at the most prestigious university in the world. The only thing that prestigious universities in the world give, besides knowledge and privileged diplomas, the importance of which is not so great in reality, is connections. For the sake of connections, it is worth hanging out with certain people in certain places, and for the sake of knowledge, it is enough to simply reach out to them, reading books, articles on the Internet, watching educational videos, and so on. The logic here is quite simple. Educated people can perform more complex tricks than uneducated people, which in turn will make their tricks more expensive, maybe not always in demand, but expensive. Let's take, for example, the oil business, which involves a large number of people of different professions. Whose job is more difficult, an oil worker who pumps oil on a rig, or the manager of this entire oil business? Obviously, the job of a manager, director, or one of the directors will be more difficult in terms of its execution, and not every person is able to cope with this job. Put a simple worker in the place of this director and he will ruin the entire business in a matter of days, while the director, if necessary, will be able to master all the intricacies of his employees' work in a short time. Remember, the more difficult your work is and the fewer people who can do it, the more expensive it will be, which means that people will depend on you more than you on them, and here is your financial independence. That is, we are talking about the need to reduce those factors on which our financial independence depends, and not about absolute independence. It is clear that the director of any business without exception, without his workers and without those who are consumers of what his business produces, will also be a nobody. But, a worker depends on his director more than the director on him, which affects the cost of labor of both. Otherwise, we have a healthy shouting about the need to nationalize this, nationalize that, so that all the money goes to the people, and so on. And who will manage all this nationalized wealth? Collective farmers and vatniks. Rich people are, first of all, smart people, at the same time they are of course cunning, mean, insidious, two-faced and deceitful people, but the main thing is that they are smart. And since they are smart, they have enough of this very intelligence to climb on the neck of society, that is, on the neck of less smart people, and live at their expense for their own pleasure, having everything they need and even more, much more. So the next time you decide whether to watch another Hollywood stupidity in 3D or read a good book, think about why you don't have as much money in your life as you would like. Study, study, and study again, as Grandfather Lenin bequeathed to us, who understood the importance of human mental development. But study the right things, what they pay big money for, and not everything that your country supposedly needs. We need many specialists, but not many are valued, judging by their wages and social status. So, the needs of the country and society, and your personal needs, are still slightly different things. Be smarter. You are a smart person, aren't you? If you read my articles, if you are not lazy to read them and if you delve into their meaning, then you are definitely a smart person. And therefore, you can understand the fact that in order to provide yourself with the necessary amount of money and, most importantly, to provide yourself with the opportunity to earn a lot of money, you need the appropriate knowledge. It's good if you have a good education, using which you can climb to a certain height on the social pyramid, where it is easy to make good money. But if you do not have such an education, you have no choice but to learn how to make money, save this money and increase it, from those people who are already doing it and who know how to do it. Of course, no one will just share such valuable knowledge with you, because teaching a person how to make money, teaching him how to become strong and rich in general, is the same as giving such a person a magic tablecloth or Aladdin's lamp. Why the hell does anyone need it? No one needs it, unless other people have some of their own goals or unless you interest them in something. And how can you interest a person who, well, maybe not everything, but has a lot? You can give him the most valuable resource for him, time. Take on certain of his concerns, on which he spends his precious time, become the most useful worker or student to a rich person and help him free up time to simply live, and he will share with you his knowledge on how to achieve the financial independence you so need. But here again, you need to be able to do a certain job that a rich person may need, and you need to want to do it, because being an ignoramus and a lazy person, you will be useless to everyone. Why would anyone mess with you in this case? You understand that rich people will not allow you to parasitize on them. So, no matter how you look at it, you still need to catch up with something with your mind, read smart books, read my articles, delve into them, and having become smarter, having become more useful, you can become interesting to those who can teach you how to make money, those who will become your guide to the world of rich and successful people. You can get advice for free, but no one will bother with you for free, especially no one who can really teach you something will waste their time on you. So think about how and what you can interest rich people with, if you don't have money for training, so that they will undertake to teach you how to earn money like an adult. One of the most important indicators of financial independence, or to be more precise, relative financial independence, is not so much a person's independence from people, which in principle cannot be, as his ability to earn money passively. Isn't it nice to live with the understanding that no matter what you do, money will still drip into your pocket? You can sleep, have fun, relax, study, and earn money at the same time. That's great, and very pleasant, and most importantly, very profitable. But if you have a lot of money, but you are forced to work for it all day, then what kind of independence can we even talk about? Working for money, even for a lot of money, you depend on your work. And work is not freedom or independence, it is employment and a waste of time in life. But passive income is not like cucumbers in a garden, you can't just plant them. Of course, you can invest money in a bank, in stocks and bonds, you can buy real estate and rent it out, you can create a very good business that will live and develop practically without your participation, and get good money from all this. All this is possible, but very difficult to do. Difficult first of all because everything truly profitable in this world is not presented to people on a silver platter. You need to look for the benefit yourself, and having found it, you need to be able to protect it from encroachment by other people. Do you think you are the only one who does not want to do anything and at the same time live well? And other people, probably, dream of working hard every day until the seventh sweat, ruining their health and killing their time on hard work? Rest assured that everyone wants to do nothing and have everything, but wanting, as they say, is not harmful, but you also need to be able to come to such a life. So do not be naive and do not fall for all sorts of offers that promise to make you a rich person. Well, who the hell needs you? Well, think for yourself. I remember reading Bodo Schaefer's book The Path to Financial Independence to learn something when I had no money. And overall, I must say that it is a good book, but alas, it does not help to achieve financial independence. It simply stimulates a person to work on himself, which is also very important, but which is not enough. And the real path to financial independence is that, as I said above, you set a goal for yourself to climb on the necks of other people, making them your slaves to some extent. It sounds rude, but it is true. And it is for this reason that in the Soviet Union there was such strict censorship, protecting most people from unnecessary, from the point of view of communists, knowledge. And thus, this censorship limited people in opportunities that today, thank God, are available to us. What kind of fool would work in factories and collective farms for pennies, if you can work in more prestigious and cushy places for a higher salary? Only a fool would ruin his health by fulfilling plans that are useless to him. But Soviet education was considered the best, and we were proud of it. But if this education did not help people become rich, really rich and relatively independent, then for whom was it the best? Personally, I benefit from an education that allows me to convert the knowledge I have into at least a tidy sum of money, not to mention power and the ability to adapt to all external conditions. And everything else, all these integrals and complex schemes, I am ready to shift onto the heads of other people. Let them do this, and be proud of their achievements. Do you understand what criteria you should be guided by when assessing the quality of this or that education? Your life will give you grades, and if you learned the lesson well, then your life will be good, and if you learned it poorly or did not learn it at all, well, in that case, you can be proud of your diplomas and live in poverty like a church mouse. You need to learn mainly what is very easy to convert into money. For example, the ability to sell is much more important than the ability to derive complex mathematical formulas, since a seller is, first of all, a person who knows how to exchange a resource for money. You can be any genius, but if you do not know how to sell yourself and your knowledge, you will most likely settle down in some low-paying job and contribute to the enrichment of your boss at your expense. Here you have the price of various, supposedly needed by society, knowledge, which, as you can see from examples from life, is conditional. And yet, being a person who can perform complex tricks, you will never be left without a piece of bread, so try to get a quality education, do not spare money on it, because it will definitely pay for itself. If you do not have the opportunity to pay for education, and for one reason or another you cannot afford to study at a university, then study at home, teach yourself. Find the strength in yourself and force yourself to learn everything that is connected with money, business, power, people. And when you have at least some useful knowledge and skills for society, then, as was said above, try to find yourself a teacher from among the rich and successful people, so that by offering him your services, ask him in return to teach you how to earn big money. Learn to live at the expense of others. This, I repeat, is the whole, if you like, secret of the so-called success. Your knowledge and skills are your most valuable asset, developing and increasing which, you will simultaneously improve the quality of your life. Let others work in the mines, extracting valuable coal and ore. Let others catch bandits, risking their lives. Let others grow bread for you with hard work, let others treat people for pennies, and so on. You, however, will be engaged in work that is also useful for society, but still less dusty, but more profitable. For example, you will manage people or money. And this is very profitable, given the status of managers and the quality of their life. This is how this world lives, friends. I am not making anything up, I am only explaining to you what you can see for yourself. In this world, on the one hand, the work of each person is important, but on the other hand, only a few live well, even very well, in this world, who manage to climb to the top of the social pyramid and forced society to work for themselves. But even in the middle of this pyramid, one can feel quite comfortable, being moderately dependent on society and on superiors, but having real opportunities to squeeze money out of a large number of people working hard at the bottom for beggarly wages. This is what a good education gives a person, this is what the right knowledge and the ability to apply it give him. You can read as many books and articles on financial independence as you like, trying to find some special secret in them that will help you get rich and independent overnight. But without real knowledge and without skillful application of it, all these articles and books are nothing more than interesting stories that are simply interesting to read. Many are ready to write fairy tales for you, if there is a demand for them, but for real life you don't need fairy tales, you need knowledge of how everything in this world actually works. And in this world, not all people can be rich and successful, for the simple reason that all the wealth and success of some people is the poverty and failures of others. Therefore, it is so important to be a developed person, to be smarter, more cunning, faster, more resourceful and more flexible than other people, in order to be able to bypass them. This is how developed countries live better than undeveloped countries, robbing them and imposing their will on them. This is how more developed people use less developed people for their own purposes, and thus come to what we call success, wealth, independence. Money will always be concentrated near strong people, and a person's strength lies primarily in his intellectual abilities and his spiritual state. People who are strong in spirit and mind are leaders, they are winners, they are lions in the world of people. Do you want to become like that? Then study, and study the right things. It is better to study, to be a manager, than to study, to be a doctor or an engineer. It is better to be able to manage finances, than to be able to derive complex mathematical formulas. It is better to be able to communicate competently with people than to know by heart the poems of famous poets and quote the great classics. Is this obvious to you? Or do you have other convictions? Take a look at this world, take a close look at it. Do you see who lives well in it? Do you understand how these people got to where they are? Do you understand that they are standing on your head? Do you understand that any independence, including the financial independence of one person, is based on the exploitation of other people? Rich people make money at the expense of poor people, because rich people are smarter, more cunning, more insidious, more deceitful, more impudent and more flexible than poor people. And money plays the role of chains, with which poor people are shackled hand and foot. Money, as we can see, is the standard of human success, at least in our society. Whether we like it or not, but it is so. We can talk as much as we like about spiritual values and other measures of pseudo-success, but in a store they will sell us something only for money, and only for money will they treat us well in a hospital, only money will they demand from us payment for an apartment and other benefits. And if so, then one of the priority tasks for each person is the task of providing themselves with money, for which they should study this issue in as much depth as possible. Not, damn it, study bugs and spiders, not stars and galaxies, not computers and cars, but money. Without financial literacy, you will earn nothing, but you will help other people earn money from themselves. How is it that some people play golf all day and have a lot of money, while others toil all day at hard work and barely make ends meet? You don't know? Or do you think you know? It's all very simple. Smart people come up with such schemes, in which the division of labor is in their favor, in which it is their passive labor that turns out to be the most in demand in society and at the same time, difficult to perform for ordinary people who are accustomed only to holding a hoe in their hands, well, or now, in our computer age, to type on the keys. Your primitive work can be delegated to a lot of other people, unless you are a super specialist in your field, but the work of some big banker or businessman is not for everyone. He will make a couple of calls a day and earn as much as you do not earn in a year, and displace him from his comfortable place, try to compete with him for a place in the sun, with your primitive knowledge. Of course, you can dispossess anyone, but what will this lead to the prosperity of such a barbaric society, or to its degradation? Without smart people, no society can develop, and smart people will not work for pennies, they will not work for anyone at all except themselves, and then they will only work with their heads, telling the sheep where to trample the grass. So, get knowledge that is useful to you, do not think that only selected people, alpha males and alpha females, as George Orwell wrote about it, become rich and successful, and at the same time financially independent. No way, anyone can become a rich person if they learn this business, studying the issue of money to the very core. And all these benefactors who offer you benefits on a silver platter, kick them out. No one is interested in making you a rich person, everyone is only interested in their own well-being. You are told that in order to become a rich person, you need to learn how to earn money correctly, through business or through a very profitable job that pays a very high salary. I would add politics to this. This is where there is really a lot of money. But do you know how to create a business? Do you know how to engage in politics? Can you get into a profitable job, pushing aside other applicants? But in all these cases, we are talking about how to manage people, how to use people for your own purposes, how to influence people and get them to do what you want, and, ultimately, how to get people out of your way. You have to fight even for a profitable job, and there is nothing to say about a very profitable business, for example, the oil business, and especially about power. And who will teach you this? Where will you learn this? You are right, you will be taught this here. Well, I will at least share with you almost all my knowledge. And what I hide behind the word almost is precisely my personal benefit, for which I take money. But let's go further and see what else you are advised to do in order to become rich, successful, and financially independent. You are told that you need to manage the money you earn wisely. That is, you need to invest your money so that it multiplies. But do you know how to invest your money? Do you know how to do it correctly? Do you know what investing money is? Do you understand that in this case we are talking about buying someone else's work with this money, which should bring a certain income, from which you will receive your interest? And do you understand that high interest on deposits is possible only if we are talking about a financial pyramid, in which money is not invested in anything at all, but simply flows from one pocket to another? Like on Forex, for example, this is how they make money there. Anyone can make money on this exchange, but how? Precisely at the expense of other people, at their losses, at their mistakes, at their failures. And therefore, before engaging in investing money, it is necessary to learn how to correctly assess all the risks associated with a specific type of investment. Everywhere has its own peculiarities, its own risks, its own pattern. To make money from money, it is necessary to understand the entire path that your money will take after investing it in something. It is necessary to take into account every stop of your money on this path. It is necessary to calculate many different options for the development of events, in one or another type of investment, and thus, be able to adequately and extremely accurately assess your risks. And what are you offered to do? Just take and invest money in Gazprom shares or in shares of another well-known company, in order to multiply them in this way. And many investors got rich this way? Do you really think that someone will offer you a profitable investment? Do you really think that everything profitable is just lying around doing nothing? Do you even understand that very rich guys who have nowhere to put their millions, rack their brains all day long over where to invest their money in order to get at least a small profit, to squeeze at least a few % out of it? And they have dozens of advisors constantly thinking about this problem, because increasing money is a whole art. And with all this, some smart guys offer you on the internet to increase your money by about 50%, counting on your ignorance and greed. The locality of your thinking will not only prevent you from getting rich, but will also leave you without pants. Although, returning to Gazprom shares, I must say that there was a time when they really did grow in price very strongly, and thus helped some people get rich. But that's a completely different story, which I'll tell you about some other time. Earning big money, increasing it, is not only a very difficult task, it is also competition, because everything profitable, people snatch up very quickly, and all the crap remains for the suckers. If those people who in the 90s of the last century carried their money to numerous financial pyramids, at least thought a little with their own heads, at least once asked themselves why they were suddenly offered something profitable, they would not have lost their money. But the majority of people do not know how to think, unfortunately, including in those countries where there is a very good education. After all, that is why it is a majority, not to think, but to feed the minority, and to carry out the minority's instructions. This is the problem of poverty. It is the inability to think, the lack of education, the lack of understanding of the laws by which money works, and the completely stupid belief that some good uncles and aunts passionately want to help them, poor and stupid people, to get out of poverty, get rich and gain financial independence.